Financial institutions spend substantial amounts of their time and money adhering to a growing set of regulatory constraints. Corporations like Enron, AIG, and more recently, thousands of U.S. bank closures have not only been a cause for the shaken financial system, they have shattered the public's trust. Until these corporations come to realize the need for a more proactive approach to uncovering questionable business practices, the financial industry will continue to see its share of sweeping federal reform. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of risk management process as it relates to financial risk, risk assessment, and risk prevention. Let's begin by defining financial risk. A financial risk is the possibility that a company will not have adequate cash flow to meet its financial obligations. Understanding that there are risks involved in everything we do, financial risk point to the degree of uncertainty of return on an asset. A financial uncertainty matters because it affects the public's well-being. A company that cannot identify its risk has no way of solving its problems. What is financial risk management? With any risk, there comes an expectation of loss. A trade-off exists between the benefits of taking a certain amount of risk in order to be successful and eliminating those risks that may harm the organization. While we understand risks are inevitable, minimizing the risk by adding precautions or control measures is imperative. A critical component of financial risk management is identifying risk. This is done through a risk assessment. A risk assessment is a thorough look at the organization with the primary goal of mitigating risk. The risk assessment will identify those things, situations, and processes that may cause harm to the public. The long-term goal of a risk assessment process is to remove a hazard or reduce the level of its risk. A risk assessment is a process whereby three things should be taken into consideration. The hazard is identified, the hazard is analyzed and evaluated, and finally, appropriate ways to eliminate and control the hazard or the risk are determined. Following the risk assessment, the plan which is put into action for dealing with these risks is the risk prevention plan. An organization must, first and foremost, identify the critical from the non-critical risk. Then they'll determine how much risk is allowed according to their own risk tolerance level. They'll also implement actions to address the risk, such as buying insurance or investment derivatives. And finally, they'll take the necessary steps to reduce the likelihood of risk occurring again. Let's recap. Risk management is the area that deals with identifying and lowering the risk to an acceptable level, and then deciding how do we determine an acceptable level of risk. Risk assessment will identify those things, situations, and processes that are the primary focus of mitigating the risk. And finally, risk prevention is the detection of an identified risk arising either before they occur or before they develop into a major defect. There are some definite benefits to managing financial risk. Some of these benefits include a company can withstand downturns in business cycles and enjoy short recovery time from those downturns. In addition, a financial risk can be eliminated or avoided through simple business practices. And finally, those companies that have good financial risk management can seek out financing more readily available than other companies. Although attempts to legislate financial reform always seem to follow a